There is a reason your fingers did not scroll past this. There is a reason your eyes paused just for a second longer than usual. You may have opened this out of curiosity. You may have clicked without thinking. Or maybe you felt something. A pull. A quiet, unexplainable nudge that whispered, "Wait, don't skip this." And now you're here. Listen carefully, because this is not random. This is not just another video. This is not just another message floating through endless noise. This, right here, is a divine interruption. A moment where heaven steps into your timeline and says, "Stop. This one is for you." You've been scrolling for minutes, maybe hours. Content after content, message after message, none of it really landing. But suddenly, this one caught you. Why? Why this title? Why this moment? Why now? Because something has already been set in motion before you even arrived here. There are moments in life that look ordinary but carry extraordinary weight. Moments that feel small on the surface, but in the spirit realm, they are marked, assigned, chosen. And this is one of those moments. You were not supposed to miss this. In fact, let me ask you something. Have you felt it lately? That strange tension in your spirit. That quiet frustration you couldn't fully explain. Doors that almost opened, but didn't. Opportunities that felt close, but slipped away. A feeling like something is waiting for you, but you can't quite touch it yet. You've been sensing a shift, haven't you? Of the changes, of the millies, of the yet many, the service of your life. And at the same time, you've also felt resistance, delays, evasion, moments where you questioned yourself, moments where you wondered, am I missing something? No, you weren't missing anything. You were being positioned. Because what you are about to hear, what is about to be revealed, has already been approved in a realm you cannot see yet. And the reason this message found you right now is because the timing has aligned perfectly. Not early, not late, right on time. There are thousands of people scrolling at this exact moment. Thousands seeing similar content. But not everyone stopped here. Not everyone felt this pull. Not everyone is hearing these words. You are. And that alone should tell you something powerful. Because heaven does not interrupt randomly. When a divine interruption happens, it means something is being released, and it needs a receiver. It needs someone present, someone aware, someone willing to stay long enough to hear what others would ignore. That someone is you. But here is where it becomes serious. Because not every divine moment stays open forever. Some doors open quietly, and just as quietly, they close. Some messages are delivered once, and if ignored, they move on to the next person who is ready. That's why you felt that urgency in the title. That's why something inside you said, "Don't skip." Because this is not about entertainment. This is about timing. And timing changes everything. What if I told you that right now, in this exact moment, something has already been released in your name, but it is waiting for your awareness to activate it? What if I told you that the very thing you've been praying for, hoping for, silently wishing for is closer than it has ever been before? And what if I told you that missing this moment could delay something that was meant to arrive now? Feel that. That's not pressure. That's alignment knocking at your door. You didn't land here by accident. You didn't stay this long by coincidence. You are here because something is trying to reach you before it moves on. So don't rush this. Don't treat this lightly. Because what begins here will set the tone for everything that follows. This is your moment to become aware. This is your moment to lean in. This is your moment to realize that something bigger than you thought is already unfolding. And this message, it's just the beginning. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message reaching your spirit. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around you. There is something you need to understand right now, and it will shift the way you see everything that has been happening in your life. What you thought was delay was never denial. What you thought was silence was never absence. And what you believed was uncertainty was actually a process already moving in your favor, behind the scenes, beyond your sight. Because before you even arrived at this moment, before you even pressed play, before you even felt that pull to stay, something had already been approved over your name. Lot suggested, lot considered, lot pending, approved. There is a difference between hoping something will happen and knowing it has already been signed. And right now, you are standing in the middle of something that has already been authorized in the unseen realm. The decision has been made. The outcome has been written. The transfer has been cleared. What you are experiencing now is not the beginning of the blessing, it is the release of what has already been established. You see, there are moments when life feels like it is standing still. Moments where nothing seems to move, nothing seems to change, and nothing seems to respond no matter how much you try. But what you could not see was that while things looked still on the outside, something was being processed on the inside. A divine process, a spiritual authorization, a heavenly approval that required timing, alignment, and preparation before it could be released into your physical reality. And here is where it becomes personal, because this approval carries your name, not someone else's, not a random person's, not a general blessing floating in the air. This was marked, assigned, and sealed specifically for you. And the reason it took time is because everything attached to it had to be aligned correctly. The doors, the people, the opportunities, the timing, the conditions. Every piece had to come into place so that when it arrived, it would not be partial, it would be complete. That is why things felt slow. That is why things felt uncertain. That is why you had moments where you questioned whether anything was even happening at all. But something was happening. Something powerful. Something intentional. Something precise. While you were waiting, the approval was being finalized. While you were doubting, the signature was being placed. While you were wondering, the transfer was being prepared. And now it has been released. But listen carefully, because this is where most people misunderstand what this moment truly means. A divine transfer is not just about material things. It is not just about money, success, or visible rewards. Those can be part of it, yes, but they are not the foundation of it. The real transfer is deeper than that. It is a shift in position, a shift in access, a shift in alignment. It is the movement of something from one place into your life. It can be favor that opens doors you never thought possible. It can be clarity that removes confusion you have been carrying for years. It can be restoration that gives back what you thought was lost. It can be opportunity that places you exactly where you are meant to be, at exactly the right time. This is not random. This is intentional. And the reason it carries weight is because not everyone reaches this point. Not everyone stays aligned long enough. Not everyone remains open long enough. Not everyone is positioned correctly when the moment arrives. But you are here. You stayed. You listened. You felt something and chose not to ignore it. And that is why this is now being revealed to you. But there is something else you must understand, and this is where the urgency begins to rise again. Because an approved transfer still requires a receiver. It is not enough for something to be released. It must also be received. And receiving requires awareness. It requires attention. It requires presence in the moment when the opportunity is placed before you. This is why you were drawn here now. Because this is not just information. This is activation. You are being made aware of something that is already in motion so that you do not miss it when it arrives in a form you might not expect. Because sometimes, the greatest shifts do not come in obvious ways. They come quietly, subtly, through conversations, decisions, encounters, and moments that seem ordinary on the surface but carry extraordinary impact. And if you are not aware, you might overlook it. That is why this message matters. That is why this moment matters. Because what has been approved for you is no longer waiting in the distance. It is moving toward you. It is positioning itself around you. It is aligning itself with your current reality, preparing to enter your life in a way that will make sense only after it happens. And when it does, you will remember this moment. You will remember that you were told. You will remember that something had already been signed. You will remember that you were given the chance to be aware before it arrived. So stay present. Stay alert. Stay ready. Because what carries your name is already on its way. Type "I receive what is approved for me" in the comments if you are ready to align with this transfer. Blessing code 2222 is now activated around your path. There is something pressing in the atmosphere right now, something that cannot be delayed, something that refuses to wait for you to feel ready. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle tension, that quiet pull that keeps you here, listening, absorbing every word as if something inside you knows this moment carries weight. This is not just about understanding what hath been approved for you. This is about recognizing that timing is everything, and right now, you are standing in a window that will not remain open forever. You see, divine opportunities do not operate on human schedules. They do not wait for comfort. They do not pause for hesitation. They move with precision, with purpose, and with a timing that is far beyond what the natural mind can comprehend. And when that timing arrives, it requires a response. Not tomorrow, not later, not when you feel more prepared. It requires a response now. This is where many people miss what was meant for them. Not because it was not theirs, not because it was not approved, but because they delayed their response. They hesitated. They questioned. They allowed doubt to whisper louder than direction. And while they were thinking about it, the moment passed. The opportunity shifted. The transfer moved on to someone who was ready to receive it without hesitation. That is why this message carries urgency. Because what has your name on it is not sitting still. It is moving. It is active. It is aligning itself with your current reality, waiting for your awareness to meet it. But awareness alone is not enough. There must be obedience. There must be a willingness to act, to respond, to stay aligned with what is being revealed to you in real time. Think about the moments in your life where you felt you should have acted sooner. Moments where you said, "I knew it. I felt it. I should have listened." Those were not random regrets. Those were missed alignments. Moments where timing and awareness were present, but action was delayed. This is not one of those moments. This is your chance to respond differently. Because the shift that is happening right now is not just about receiving something new. It is about stepping into a new level of alignment where you trust what you feel, where you move when you are guided, where you no longer allow hesitation to block what has already been released for you. There is a reason the message found you now and not later. There is a reason you felt drawn to stay and not skip. There is a reason something inside you is telling you to keep listening, to keep paying attention, to not brush this off like everything else. At reason is timing, and timing is sacred. When something is released at the right time, it carries a different kind of power. It moves faster. It aligns easier. It opens doors without resistance. But when timing is missed, the same thing can become delayed, complicated, or even redirected entirely. You are not here to miss this. You are here to recognize it. You are here to respond to it. You are here to step into it without hesitation. Because what is unfolding right now is not just a message. It is a moment of decision. A moment where you either stay aligned with what is being revealed, or you drift back into distraction, back into delay, back into the same patterns that kept you waiting before. And you already know which one leads to growth. You already know which one leads to change. You already know which one leads to receiving what has been approved for you. So do not ignore this feeling. Do not silence this awareness. Do not delay your response. Because the difference between those who receive and those who miss is not opportunity. It is timing. It is obedience. It is the willingness to move when the moment arrives. And your moment is now. Type "I move in divine timing" in the comments if you are ready to act without delay. Blessing code 3333 is now activated around your decisions. As this moment of urgency settles into your spirit, understand this. Every time you respond in obedience, you become a vessel through which light reaches someone else who is still searching. This message did not stop with you, and it must not end with you. When you choose to support this mission through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into a harvest of awakened souls who are waiting for their moment just like you. The Lord declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and right now, that bread becomes revelation in someone else's darkness. I am stepping into this moment, and I choose to become part of what God is doing beyond my own life. This is not a donation. This is alignment with divine timing. As you release your seed, heaven marks your obedience and multiplies it back into your path. Do not hesitate. Act now, and let your obedience become someone else's breakthrough. There is a movement happening around you right now that cannot be seen with the natural eye, yet it is more real than anything you can touch. It is not noise. It is not imagination. It is not coincidence. It is a transaction, a spiritual transaction that has already been initiated, already been authorized, and is now in the process of being transferred into your life. And the reason you are feeling this shift, the reason your spirit feels alert, the reason your attention has been captured so strongly, is because something that once existed outside of your reach is now being moved directly toward you. This is not a small exchange. This is not a random blessing drifting through the air. This is a targeted movement of what belongs to you. Something is being taken from one place and placed into another, and that place is your life. It is a reallocation of favor. It is a repositioning of opportunity. It is a redirection of outcomes that were once delayed but are now being accelerated. You are not waiting anymore. You are entering into reception. But to understand the weight of this moment, you must first understand what is actually being transferred. Because many people hear words like blessing or breakthrough and immediately think in limited terms. They think of one event, one outcome, one visible change. But this is deeper than that. This is layered. This is multidimensional. This is a transfer that touches different areas of your life at the same time, creating a shift that cannot be contained in just one category. There is favor being moved into your path, and this favor will not behave like what you have experienced before. It will not struggle to open doors. It will not beg for access. It will not wait for permission. It will move with authority. It will position you in rooms you did not fight to enter. It will connect you with people who recognize something in you without you having to explain yourself. It will create moments where things align so naturally that even you will pause and realize this is not ordinary. This is what happens when something has been divinely transferred into your life. There is also clarity being moved into your mind. The confusion that once surrounded certain decisions, the uncertainty that made you second-guess your direction, the mental fog that caused hesitation, all of it is being replaced. Because when a true transfer takes place, it does not just change your external reality. It sharpens your internal awareness. You begin to see things differently. You begin to understand things faster. You begin to recognize what is right for you and what is not without needing constant validation from others. And then there is restoration. This is where the transaction becomes deeply personal. Because something that was lost, something that was delayed, something that felt like it slipped through your hands, is being recalculated and returned in a new form. Not necessarily in the exact way it left, but in a way that fulfills the purpose it was always meant to serve in your life. You may have thought certain opportunities were gone forever. You may have believed certain moments had passed you by. But what you could not see was that nothing assigned to you can be permanently taken away. It can only be delayed until the right alignment is reached. That alignment is happening now. And as this transaction continues, there will also be a shift in your position. You will not remain where you were. You will not think the same way. You will not move the same way. Because when something new enters your life at this level, it requires a new version of you to carry it. This is why you have felt a separation from certain habits, certain environments, certain ways of thinking. It was not random. It was preparation. You were being adjusted to handle what is now being transferred. But here is something you must hold on to as this unfolds. Not every part of the transfer will arrive loudly. Not every shift will announce itself. Some of the most powerful movements will happen quietly, in ways that only you will recognize at first. A conversation then changes your direction. A sudden idea that leads to an opportunity. A decision that feels small in the moment but creates a major shift later. These are the ways the transfer integrates into your life. This is why awareness remains critical. Because the more aware you are, the more you will recognize what is happening as it happens. You will not overlook it. You will not dismiss it. You will not delay your response. You will move with it, aligning yourself with each step as it unfolds. And as this continues, you will begin to feel something different within you. A sense of momentum. A sense of clarity. A sense of being carried rather than constantly pushing. That is the confirmation. That is how you know the transaction is active. That is how you know what was approved is now being fully released into your reality. So do not doubt this moment. Do not question what you are sensing. Because what is being moved into your life right now is not temporary. It is not accidental. It is not replaceable. It is yours. And it is already in motion. Type "I receive the full transfer" in the comments if you are ready to accept everything that is being moved into your life. Lesson code 4444 is now activated around your path. There is something you have been carrying for a while now. Something that has followed you through different seasons, different decisions, different attempts to move forward. It is that feeling of resistance. That invisible weight that made things harder than they should have been. That strange pattern where progress would begin and then suddenly slow down, shift, or stop completely. You tried to push through it. You tried to ignore it. You even questioned yourself because of it. But what you were experiencing was not random, and it was not your fault. It was resistance. And now, you are finally at the point where you can understand why it had to be there. Because every time something significant is assigned to your life, there is always a process that prepares you to receive it, and that preparation rarely feels easy. In fact, it often feels like the exact opposite. It feels like delay. It feels like confusion. It feels like things are not working the way they should. But what you could not see was that the resistance was not there to stop you. It was there to shape you. You were being stretched. You were being strengthened. You were being aligned with something bigger than what you could handle at the time. Think about the moments where things almost worked out but didn't. The opportunities that seemed perfect but suddenly fell apart. The relationships that felt promising but did not last. The plans you were certain about that somehow never fully came together. At the time, it felt frustrating. It felt unfair. It even made you question whether you were moving in the right direction. But now, looking at this moment, you can begin to see it differently. Because if those things had worked out the way you expected, you would not be here now. You would not be in this position. You would not be aligned with what is currently being transferred into your life. You would have settled into something that was never meant to carry the level of what is now being released to you. The resistance was protection. The resistance was redirection. The resistance was a filter that removed what could not go with you into this next phase. And this is why it felt so intense at times. Because you were not just dealing with surface-level obstacles. You were moving through a deeper process that was recalibrating your path entirely. It was adjusting your timing. It was shifting your perspective. It was building a version of you that could recognize and sustain what is now arriving. There were moments when you felt alone in that process. Moments where it seemed like no one understood what you were going through. Moments where you questioned whether you were falling behind, while everyone else seemed to be moving forward. But what you did not realize was that your path was never meant to look like theirs. Your process was never meant to match theirs. Because what is assigned to you carries a different weight, and it requires a different level of preparation. And that preparation came through resistance. Every delay taught you patience. Every disappointment taught you discernment. Every closed door taught you not to settle. Every moment of confusion taught you to trust something deeper than what you could immediately understand. You were being trained to recognize alignment. You were being trained to move differently. You were being trained to value what truly belongs to you instead of chasing what only looks right on the surface. And now, as you stand in this moment, something has shifted. The resistance is no longer the dominant force. The process has reached a point of completion. The preparation has done its work. That is why things feel different now. That is why this message feels different. That is why your awareness feels sharper. Because you are no longer in the phase of being shaped by resistance. You are stepping into the phase of receiving what that resistance was preparing you for. And this is where many people make a critical mistake. They carry the mindset of struggle into a season that no longer requires it. They remain guarded when they are meant to be open. They hesitate when they are meant to move. They expect difficulty when things are finally aligning. But you cannot do that now. You cannot treat this moment like the ones before it. Because this is not the same phase. This is not the same cycle. This is the shift. The very resistance that once slowed you down is now what positioned you correctly. It filtered out what did not belong. It strengthened what needed to grow. It aligned you with this exact moment where what has been approved is now being released without the same level of obstruction. So when things begin to move, do not question it. When things begin to align, do not doubt it. When opportunities begin to appear, do not hesitate. because the resistance you felt was never meant to last forever. It was meant to prepare you for this. And now you are ready. Type "I release the struggle" and receive the shift in the comments if you are ready to step fully into this new phase. Blessing code 5555 is now activated around your journey. There is a truth that must be spoken clearly in this moment, and it may challenge the way you have approached things in the past. Not everything that is meant for you will wait for you. Not every opportunity will remain available indefinitely. And not every blessing, even when it has been approved, will stay in position if it is not recognized and received when the moment arrives. This is the part many people avoid hearing, because it introduces responsibility. It reveals that timing is not just important, it is critical. You have already come to understand that something has been approved over your life. You have felt the shift, the movement, the alignment that is taking place. But now you must understand the other side of this reality. Because while something hath been released, it is not designed to remain idle. It is designed to move. It is designed to connect. It is designed to find alignment with readiness. And readiness is not about perfection. It is about response. What happens when a moment arrives and there is no response? What happens when awareness is present but action is delayed? What happens when hesitation becomes stronger than obedience? The answer is simple, but it carries weight. The moment moves. The opportunity shifts. The alignment redirects. This does not mean what is meant for you is permanently lost. But it does mean it can be delayed, complicated, or rerouted in ways that were never necessary. It means what could have arrived smoothly may now require more time. What could have unfolded naturally may now require more effort. What could have been received in clarity may now come through confusion. Delay creates distortion, and distortion is what might pibbled wet him what was once clear. You have seen this happen before, even if you did not recognize it at the time. Moments where you felt something strongly, but chose to wait. Opportunities that presented themselves, but you hesitated. Decisions that required courage, but you delayed action. And later, you look back and realize the moment had passed. Not because it was taken from you, but because it was not received. This is why this message carries such intensity. Because you are not being brought into awareness just to observe what is happening. You are being brought into awareness so that you can respond while the alignment is still active. So that you can move while the path is still clear. So that you can receive while what is yours is still within reach in its most natural and powerful form. Delay often disguises itself as logic. It sounds like I need more time. It feels like I will come back to this later. It presents itself as caution, as careful thinking, as waiting for the perfect moment. But what you must understand is that the perfect moment is not something you create later. It is something you recognize now. And if you miss it, you do not create a better one. You create a different one. And different is not always better. There is also something deeper at play here. Because delay does not only affect outcomes, it affects momentum. When you respond in the moment, you stay aligned with the flow of what is happening. Things continue to move. Doors continue to open. Connections continue to form. But when you delay, that momentum slows down. The flow becomes interrupted. And you find yourself trying to restart something that was already in motion. That is why this moment matters so much. Because right now, you are not trying to create something from nothing. You are stepping into something that is already moving. And the easiest way to receive it is to stay aligned with that movement as it happens. But if you step away, if you ignore this, if you treat this like something you can return to later without consequence, You risk disconnecting from the very alignment that brought you here. This is not about fear. This is about awareness. This is about understanding that what is happening right now is not ordinary. It is not repeatable on demand. It is not something you can pause and expect to resume in the same way. It is active. It is present. It is now. And now is the only moment where it can be fully received. So do not delay your awareness. Do not postpone your response. Do not treat this like something optional when everything about it is telling you it is necessary. Because the difference between receiving and missing is not worthiness. It is timing. It is presence. It is action. And you have been brought into this moment so that you do not repeat what has already delayed you in the past. You have been brought here to respond differently. You have been brought here to stay aligned. You have been brought here to receive without hesitation. So remain present. Remain aware. Remain ready. Because what is moving toward you will not wait for indecision. It will align with action. Type "I do not delay what is mine" in the comments if you are choosing to respond in this moment. Blessing code 6666 is now activated around your decisions. There is something you must come to terms with in this moment, something that may feel unfamiliar at first, but deep down, it resonates with a truth you have always carried quietly within you. This is not happening randomly. This is not happening by chance. And most importantly, this is not happening to just anyone. It is happening to you because you were selected for it. Not by accident, not by luck, but by design. There is a difference between wanting something and being chosen to carry something. Many people desire change. Many people hope for opportunity. Many people wish for breakthrough. But not everyone is selected to receive a transfer at this level, at this time, in this way. Because selection is not based on desire alone. It is based on capacity, on alignment, on the ability to carry what is being released without losing direction, without losing purpose, and without losing control. And everything you have been through has been shaping that capacity within you. You may not have seen it that way before. You may have looked at your past experiences as setbacks, as mistakes, as delays that held you back from where you wanted to be. But what you did not realize was that those very experiences were building something inside of you. They were forming resilience. They were sharpening your awareness. They were teaching you lessons that could not be learned any other way. You were being prepared to hold something greater. Because if this transfer had come earlier, you would not have been ready for it. You would not have recognized its value. You would not have protected it properly. You might have even lost it without realizing what you had in your hands. But now, after everything you have experienced, after everything you have learned, after everything you have endured, you are different. You see differently. You think differently. You respond differently. And that difference is exactly why you were selected. There is also something else that sets you apart, something that may have made you feel isolated at times. You have always sensed things before others did. You have always felt when something was off, even when everything looked normal on the surface. You have always carried a level of awareness that others could not fully understand. And because of that, there were moments where you questioned yourself. Moments where you wondered if you were overthinking, overanalyzing, or imagining things that were not really there. But you were not. You were perceiving what others could not see. You were sensing what others could not feel. And now, that same awareness is becoming your advantage. Because when something is transferred into your life at this level, it requires someone who can recognize it, someone who can protect it, someone who can move with it without needing constant confirmation from others. It requires someone who trusts what they feel, someone who's willing to act on that awareness, someone who does not ignore the signals that guide them. That is who you have become, and that is why you are here. This is also why certain people could not continue with you into this moment. Not because they were bad, not because they meant harm, but because they were not aligned with where you are going. Their understanding, their perspective, their mindset, it all belonged to a different phase of your life. And as you began to shift, as you began to grow, as you began to move into deeper awareness, the distance between you and them became necessary. It was not loss. It was alignment. Because what is being transferred into your life cannot be carried in environments that do not support it. It cannot grow in spaces that do not understand it. It cannot thrive around people who are not aligned with its purpose. And that is why your circle changed. That is why your environment shifted. That is why certain connections naturally faded. You were being positioned. You were being set apart. You were being prepared to carry something that requires a different level of awareness, a different level of discipline, a different level of focus. And now, that preparation has brought you here, but being chosen also comes with responsibility. It means you cannot move the same way you used to. It means you cannot ignore what you feel. It means you cannot return to patterns that no longer serve you. Because once you become aware of your position, once you recognize what is being placed in your life, you are responsible for how you handle it. And this is where your strength will show. Because being chosen is not about comfort. It is about purpose. It is about stepping into something that requires you to grow even further, to remain focused, to stay aligned even when distractions appear. But you are not unprepared for this. Everything you have been through has equipped you for this. Everything you have learned has positioned you for this. Everything you have overcome has strengthened you for this. You are not stepping into something unknown. You are stepping into something you have been prepared for all along. And now, the moment has arrived where that preparation meets opportunity, where that awareness meets activation, where that selection becomes reality. So do not question why you were chosen. Do not doubt whether you are ready. Do not shrink back from what is being placed before you, because this was not given to you by mistake. It was assigned to you. It was approved for you. It was prepared for you. And now it is yours to carry. Type "I accept my assignment" in the comments if you are ready to step fully into your role. Blessing code 7777 is now activated around your purpose. There is a shift happening within you that cannot be ignored any longer. And it is not just about what is coming into your life. It is also about what can no longer remain. Because every true elevation carries a requirement, and that requirement is separation. Not as punishment, not as loss, but as alignment. You are entering a season where what you carry must match where you are going, and anything that does not match will begin to feel heavier, louder, and more uncomfortable to hold on to. You have already started to feel it. That quiet distance growing between you and certain people. That lack of interest in things that once held your attention. That internal resistance when you try to return to old habits, old conversations, old ways of thinking. It is not confusion. It is not inconsistency. It is transformation. Your spirit is no longer settling for what it has outgrown, and that creates a natural separation between who you were and who you are becoming. But this is the part that requires honesty, because separation is not always easy to accept. Sometimes it comes with emotional weight. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it makes you question whether you are doing the right thing by letting certain things go. You may even find yourself trying to hold on to what feels familiar, even when you know deep down it no longer aligns with where you are headed. This is where clarity becomes necessary, because what you are releasing is not being taken from you. It is being removed to make space. Space for what has already been approved. Space for what is currently being transferred. Space for what requires your full attention, your full capacity, your full alignment. And if that space is already filled with things that no longer serve you, then what is meant to enter your life will struggle to settle. You cannot carry both at the same time. You cannot hold on to the old and fully receive the new. This is why this season feels so specific, because it is not just about external changes. It is about internal decisions. Decisions about what you are willing to release, what you are willing to walk away from, what you are willing to leave behind so that you can move forward without resistance. And here is something you must understand. Not everything you are releasing was bad. Not everything you are leaving behind was harmful. Some of it simply belonged to a different version of you. A version that served its purpose at the time, but no longer matches who you are becoming now. And holding onto it out of comfort or familiarity will only slow down what is trying to accelerate in your life. This is why separation often feels confusing, because you are not always leaving something negative. Sometimes you are leaving something that was once right, but is no longer aligned, and that requires a different kind of strength. The strength to let go without resentment. The strength to move forward without needing closure from everything you leave behind. The strength to trust that what you are stepping into is worth what you are releasing. You are being asked to trust that now, because what is coming into your life is not designed to coexist with what you have outgrown. It requires clarity. It requires focus. It requires space. And that space must be created intentionally, not accidentally. You cannot wait for everything to fall apart on its own. You must recognize what no longer fits and make the decision to release it, even when it feels uncomfortable. This is where your awareness becomes your guide. You already know what feels heavy. You already know what feels forced. You already know what no longer aligns with your direction. And you also know what feels right, what feels natural, what feels aligned with the shift you are experiencing. That awareness is not random. It is direction. And as you follow that direction, you will begin to notice something important. The more you release, the lighter you feel. The more you let go, the clearer your mind becomes. The more space you create, the easier it becomes to recognize what is being placed in front of you. That is the confirmation. That is how you know you are moving in alignment with what is being transferred into your life. So do not resist this season of separation. Do not try to hold on to what is already loosening its grip on your life. Do not ignore the signals that are guiding you away from what no longer belongs. Because this is not loss. This is preparation. This is alignment. This is the clearing that allows the transfer to fully settle into your life without obstruction. And the more you embrace it, the more smoothly everything else will begin to flow. You are not being emptied. You are being made ready. And what you are making room for is already on its way. Type "I release what no longer serves me" in the comments if you are ready to fully align with this season. Blessing code 8888 is now activated around your transformation. As you release what no longer belongs, understand that your obedience is not just creating space in your life. It is opening doors in the lives of others who are still waiting to hear truth like this. Every time you sow into this mission through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are planting seeds that become light in someone else's darkness, clarity in someone else's confusion, and breakthrough in someone else's delay. The Lord speaks, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." and your giving becomes a living river flowing into souls that are thirsty for direction. I feel led in this moment, and I respond with action, not hesitation. This is not a casual gesture. This is a prophetic alignment with what God is doing right now. As you release your seed, heaven records your obedience and multiplies it beyond what you can see. Step into this moment and give with certainty, because your response is part of someone else's miracle. There comes a moment in every shift where everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything you have begun to understand requires a response that moves beyond thought and into action. That moment is not somewhere in the future. It is not waiting for a better time. It is not something you prepare for later. That moment is now. This is the activation point, the exact place where awareness must turn into alignment, and alignment must turn into movement. You have already been brought into understanding. You know something has been approved. You feel something is shifting. You recognize that timing matters and that delay carries consequences. You have even begun to release what no longer belongs. But none of that reaches its full power until you step into alignment with what is happening right now. Because awareness without alignment leaves potential unused, and alignment without action leaves the process incomplete. So what does it mean to align in this moment? It means you stop treating this like information and start treating it like direction. It means you stop observing and start participating. It means you stop waiting for confirmation and start trusting what you already feel. Alignment is not complicated, but it requires intention. It begins with your focus. Where your attention goes determines what you connect with. And right now, your attention is being pulled toward something that carries significance. That is not something to ignore. That is something to lean into. Because when your focus aligns with what is being revealed, your decisions begin to align as well. You begin to move differently without forcing it. You begin to respond differently without overthinking it. You begin to recognize opportunities without needing someone else to point them out to you. That is alignment in motion. But there is also an internal shift that must take place. Because alignment is not just about what you do. It is about how you see yourself in this moment. You are no longer the version of yourself that was waiting, doubting, or questioning whether something would happen. You are the version that is receiving, recognizing, and stepping into what has already been set in motion, and that requires you to change your internal position. You must begin to think from the place of receiving, not from the place of lack. You must begin to move from the place of readiness, not from the place of hesitation. You must begin to speak to yourself from the place of certainty, not from the place of doubt. Because your internal alignment determines how you respond to what appears in front of you. If you still see yourself as unready, you will hesitate when the opportunity comes. If you still see yourself as uncertain, you will question what is clear. If you still see yourself as waiting, you will overlook what is already present. But when you shift that internal position, everything changes. You recognize faster. You decide quicker. You move with confidence instead of hesitation. That is what activation looks like. And then there is your environment. Because alignment also requires that you position yourself in spaces that support what is happening. This does not always mean physical change. Sometimes it means mental discipline. It means choosing what you listen to, what you engage with, what you allow to influence your thoughts. Because not everything around you will match the level of what is being activated within you. You must guard your alignment. You must protect your focus. You must stay connected to what is strengthening your awareness, not what is pulling you back into old patterns. This is where your discipline becomes your advantage. Because the more you stay aligned, the easier it becomes to recognize the next step. and the next step, and the next step, until what once felt distant becomes part of your reality. This is not something that happens all at once. It unfolds in moments, in decisions, in responses that seem small at first but carry larger consequences over time. And the more you align in those small moments, the more everything begins to accelerate. That is when you will feel it. That sense of flow. That sense of things coming together. That sense of no longer forcing outcomes, but moving with them as they naturally unfold. That is the confirmation that you are aligned. So do not overcomplicate this moment. Do not look for something external to tell you what to do. You already feel it. You already sense it. You already know what needs to shift, what needs to be released, what needs to be embraced. This is your activation point. This is where everything you have heard becomes something you live. This is where you step fully into alignment with what has already been approved and released in your name. And from this point forward, your response determines how quickly everything unfolds. So stay focused. Stay aware. Stay aligned. Because what is already in motion is waiting for you to meet it. Type "I am activated and aligned" in the comments if you are stepping fully into this moment. Blessing code 9999 is now activated around your path. Something begins to shift the moment awareness meets alignment, and you may not realize it immediately, but the signs will begin to appear. Not in some distant future, not after weeks of waiting, but in subtle, undeniable ways that confirm something has already changed. Because when a transfer is active, it does not remain hidden forever. It reveals itself through patterns, through moments, through experiences that begin to feel different from what you are used to. You will notice it first in your perception. Things that once confused you will start to make sense without effort. Situations that once felt overwhelming will feel clearer, more defined, easier to navigate. You will begin to see through distractions instead of being pulled into them. You will recognize what matters and what does not without needing to overanalyze every detail. This is not coincidence. This is clarity taking its place where confusion once lived. And as your perception shifts, your decisions will follow. You will find yourself making choices faster, with more certainty, without the same hesitation that used to slow you down. You will trust your instincts more. You will act on what feels right without needing external validation. This is one of the strongest signs that the transfer is integrating into your life, because it changes how you move, not just what you receive. You will also begin to notice changes in your environment. Conversations will start to align with what you have been hearing internally. You may hear something repeated through different people, different situations, different moments, all pointing in the same direction. Opportunities may begin to appear in ways that feel unexpected but strangely familiar, as if you have been prepared for them already. Encounters that seem random will carry meaning. Moments that seem ordinary will hold significance. Pay attention to these patterns, because they are not random. They are confirmations. And then there is the shift in energy. You will feel lighter, even if nothing around you has visibly changed yet. The weight you were carrying will begin to lift. The constant tension that once followed you will begin to fade. You will feel a sense of movement, even when you are still. A sense that something is progressing, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. This is the internal confirmation that what has been approved is now actively unfolding. But there is also another sign, one that many people overlook. Resistance will change form. It will not disappear completely, but it will no longer feel the same. Instead of blocking you, it will challenge you in smaller, more manageable ways. It will test your alignment rather than stop your movement. You may find yourself facing moments where you must choose between old patterns and new direction, between hesitation and action, between comfort and growth. These are not setbacks. These are confirmations. They are moments that reveal whether you are staying aligned with what is unfolding or slipping back into what you have already outgrown. And as you continue to choose alignment, something else will begin to happen. Things will start to connect faster. One decision will lead to another opportunity. One step will open the next door. One moment of clarity will create a chain of movement that builds upon itself. This is when you will truly feel the difference between forcing outcomes and flowing with them. Because you will no longer feel like you are pushing everything forward. You will feel like you are moving with something that is already in motion. This is the point where many people pause and question it. They wonder if it is too easy. They wonder if it is happening too quickly. They wonder if they should slow down and analyze it. But this is where you must remember everything you have already understood. This is not random. This is not accidental. This is what happens when timing, alignment, and readiness come together. So do not question the flow when it begins. Do not doubt the movement when it accelerates. Do not hesitate when things start to align in ways you did not expect. Because these are the signs you were meant to recognize. These are the confirmations you were meant to see. These are the moments that prove that what has been approved is now being fully released into your reality. And as you notice these signs, as you begin to experience these shifts, you will realize something important. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer searching. You are no longer hoping for something to happen. You are in the middle of it. And once you recognize that, everything changes. Type "I see the signs" clearly in the comments if you are ready to recognize every confirmation that appears. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around your awareness. What is happening in your life right now is not isolated. It is not contained. It is not something that begins and ends with you. Because every true shift, every realignment, every transfer that carries divine weight does not stop at the individual level. It expands. It flows outward. It touches everything connected to you. And whether you realize it yet or not, what is unfolding in your life is about to create an overflow that reaches far beyond you. You may have thought this was just about your personal breakthrough. You may have believed this was only about your own opportunity, your own clarity, your own movement forward. But what you are stepping into carries influence. It carries impact. It carries the ability to shift not only your life, but the lives of those around you in ways you cannot fully see yet. Because when you change, your environment cannot remain the same. When you move differently, the people connected to you begin to feel it. When you align with something greater, it creates a ripple that extends into every space you occupy. This is the overflow effect, and it begins in ways that are subtle but undeniable. People will start to notice a difference in you. Not always in words, but in presence. In the way you respond. In the way you carry yourself. In the way you make decisions. There will be a steadiness in you that was not there before. A clarity that others can sense even if they cannot explain it. A confidence that does not need to be announced but becomes evident through your actions. And this will do something powerful. It will create curiosity. It will make others question what has changed. It will cause people to observe you more closely, to listen more carefully, to pay attention to how you move and what you say. Some will be inspired by it. Some will be challenged by it. Some will not understand it at all. But regardless of how they respond, they will feel it. Because alignment at this level cannot be hidden. It reveals itself. And as it reveals itself, it begins to influence. Opportunities that come into your life will not just affect you. They will open doors for others. Decisions you make will create pathways that others can follow. The clarity you gain will allow you to guide, support, or influence people in ways you were not able to before. You will begin to recognize moments where your presence changes the direction of a conversation, where your perspective shifts someone else's thinking, where your actions create opportunities not only for yourself, but for those connected to you. This is not accidental. This is part of the design. Because what is being transferred into your life carries more than personal benefit. It carries purpose. It carries responsibility. It carries the ability to create impact beyond your immediate experience. And this is where your awareness must expand. You must begin to see yourself not just as someone receiving, but as someone carrying something that flows outward. Because the way you handle what is given to you determines how far that overflow will reach. If you stay aligned, if you remain focused, if you continue to move with awareness, that overflow will increase. It will grow. It will extend into areas you never expected. But if you become distracted, if you lose alignment, if you return to old patterns, that flow can become restricted. Not because it was taken away, but because it was not sustained. This is why your consistency matters. This is why your focus matters. This is why your alignment must continue even after you begin to see results. Because what is happening now is not just a moment. It is the beginning of a cycle of movement, of growth, of expansion that builds upon itself over time. And the more you remain aligned with it, the more you will see its impact not only in your life, but in the lives of those around you. You will begin to witness change that you did not directly create, but that was influenced by your presence. You will see doors open for others because of decisions you made. You will notice shifts in conversations, in environments, in relationships that reflect the change that began within you. This is the overflow. This is the evidence that what you are carrying is not small, is not limited, it is not contained, it is expansive. And as it continues to grow, you will begin to understand something even deeper. You were never meant to experience this alone. You were meant to carry it forward. You were meant to allow it to reach others. You were meant to become part of something larger than your own individual journey. So do not minimize what is happening. Do not treat it as something that only affects you. Because what is unfolding in your life right now is creating an impact that extends beyond what you can currently see. And the more you stay aligned with it, the more that impact will increase. You are not just receiving. You are becoming a source. Type "I walk in overflow" and impact in the comments if you are ready to carry this beyond yourself. Blessing code 1111 is now activated around your influence. There are moments in life that define everything that comes after them, moments that stand as a dividing line between what was and what will be. This is one of those moments. Not tomorrow, not later, not when everything feels easier or clearer. Right now. Because everything that has been revealed to you, everything that has been unfolding around you, everything you have felt building within you has been leading to this final point of decision. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer waiting for confirmation. You are no longer standing at the edge of uncertainty. You have been shown what is happening. You have been brought into alignment with it. And now, you are being asked to respond. This is where everything becomes real. Because a transfer, no matter how powerful, no matter how perfectly aligned, still requires acceptance. It requires a conscious decision to receive it fully, without hesitation, without doubt, without returning to the patterns that once kept you from stepping into what was already yours. And this is where many people falter. Not because they are not worthy, not because they are not capable, but because they hesitate at the moment of reception. They second-guess what they feel. They question what has already been made clear. They return to old thinking just as something new is trying to take hold. And in doing so, they slowly disconnect from the very thing they were meant to receive. This is why this moment is so important. Because you are not just being asked to understand. You are being asked to choose. To choose whether you will fully step into what has been approved for you, or whether you will allow doubt, hesitation, or distraction to pull you back into a place you have already outgrown. There is no neutral position here. You are either moving forward into alignment, or you are stepping back into delay. You are either receiving what is being placed before you, or you are allowing it to pass by. And you already know what that feels like. You have experienced moments in the past where you hesitated, where you delayed, where you allowed uncertainty to take control. And you know the result. You know what it feels like to look back and realize you were closer than you thought, that something was within reach, but you did not step forward when the moment called for it. This is not that moment. This is your opportunity to respond differently, to recognize what is happening and say yes to it without hesitation, to trust what you feel instead of questioning it, to move forward instead of waiting for everything to make perfect sense. Because clarity does not always come before action. Sometimes clarity comes through action. And this is one of those times. You are being called to step into something that has already been prepared for you. Something that carries your name, your path, your next level of movement. And it is not asking you to be perfect. It is not asking you to have everything figured out. It is asking you to be willing. Willing to receive. Willing to trust. Willing to move. Because the moment you say yes, something shifts. The moment you accept it fully, something activates. The moment you stop hesitating, something begins to unfold in a way that you cannot recreate through effort alone. This is the power of alignment. This is the power of response. This is the power of stepping into what has already been released. And as you stand here in this moment, you can feel it. That quiet knowing, that internal certainty, that awareness that something is different now. Do not ignore that. Do not silence that. Because that is your confirmation. That is your signal. That is the moment where everything you have heard becomes something you live. So make the decision now. Not later. Not eventually. But now. Choose to receive what has been approved for you. Choose to step into alignment with what is already in motion. Choose to move forward without hesitation. Because once this moment passes, it does not return in the same way. But if you accept it, if you align with it, if you step into it fully, everything that follows will carry the momentum of this decision. This is your final call. Receive it or release it. Type I receive IT fully in the comments if you are choosing to step into this moment without hesitation. Blessing code 1212 is now activated around your life. As you make this final decision to receive what has been released in your name, understand this sacred truth. Every seed you sow becomes a flame that lights the path for someone else still walking in darkness. This message did not stop with you, and it must not end with you. When you give through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are not supporting a platform. You are releasing living water into souls that are thirsty for truth, direction, and awakening. The Lord declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And this is not just a verse. It is a living covenant over your obedience right now. I feel the call, and I step forward in faith. knowing my action becomes part of a greater harvest. This is your moment to act prophetically, to respond without delay, to sow into what God is multiplying across lives you may never see. As you release your seed, heaven marks your obedience and opens doors that no one can shut. Act now, and let your giving become a divine extension of this very message.